Well, I've been taking my time and planning out my next move, because wherever I move to, I'll probably be there for decades, just like I've been down in Florida for 22, 23 years. So, when I moved down to Florida, I thought, hey, no way in hell is this area going to get built up. This is way out in county, Man, what a mistake that was. Sure, I picked, I don't know, no matter where you go in Florida, Florida's picking up a lot of people. And as more people come in, more regulations come in. So, I'm looking at North Georgia, or near the border of North Carolina and Tennessee, or southern Tennessee, and I already got property in Tennessee, and I'm going to keep that property up in the mountains. But I want to also give you a helpful hint here, because, maybe I'll put this out on my other channel, American Russian Survival. But one thing I've found out that's a good wood preservative, say like you cut your own wood, and you use one of those chainsaw mills to cut your own lumber, and you don't want to spend a lot of money on wood preservative, you can use your used motor oil and mix it with diesel fuel, and mixing those from 50% each. You put that on the wood. It's a pretty good wood preservative. We keep a lot of the rot out, the insects, and all that type of stuff. And better than throwing away the used motor oil. And diesel fuel isn't that much money either. A lot less money than paint and turpentine. So, and one thing I do like, and I know like it's kind of like. In the South, it's a little glorified. The Confederacy almost did nothing wrong. But when I always look at it, when I put out a lot of these pro-Confederate videos, I'm from New Jersey, originally near New York City. The one thing I always looked at this one angle, I says, boy, I know those people up in the North that were benefiting by the cheap slave labor. They sure as heck didn't go spend a lot of money and resources to free the slaves. That was the one thing I always looked at. I says, man, from that angle, it's not like, one side is flawless and the other side isn't. But, the whole cause of all this North-South conflict, the way the North tells you the way the story is, it's so erroneous, it's beyond belief. So I like sticking up for the underdog. But I found one thing interesting about Georgia that, there's a lot of good things I think about Georgia and Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama. Florida's kind of going down the tubes because there's too many Yankees coming down here. I was a Yankee, yeah. I mean, a Yankee by, where I was born, the location, but definitely not the way my thinking was. But I was looking at this, and, these charts are really kind of off the wall. It's kind of something I'm throwing in here. And sometimes they're going from the New York Times, the Washington Post, and whatever, but I look at everything. I look at everybody's viewpoints and, whatever it is. But they had, they're showing, red means, bad, and green means good, on this chart. So they're showing corruption convictions per capita. I guess convictions per capita is probably more important than corruption convictions because, if you got a low population state, you're not going to have that many, it depends on how many officials get nailed per capita, right? Reporter ratings, how good the press is, and lack of stringent laws. And that one, actually, this one, the last column, you got to do the inverse, in my opinion, because they got a lot of the Northeast states out there. We got all these laws and stuff that protects everybody. And I'm like, God, I don't need that part. That's the part I can't stand. Like California is 47. That's really good. They got lots of stringent laws. Connecticut's 49. New Jersey is 50. They got the most stringent laws in the whole country. I was like, man, I'm from New Jersey, and I'm like, God, that's terrible, I'm surprised Nebraska's up there, and even Mississippi's pretty high. But the one they had in red, this is what I would start thinking, boy, Georgia, you're okay, man. They got number one. I'm like, you got the least amount of stringent laws, so it's good. Probably South Carolina's probably pretty good, too, I assume. I haven't looked at this. Yeah, number 6. Yeah, South Carolina, they don't have too many stringent laws. Florida's got quite a few, but nowhere near as up in the Northeast. Yeah, Florida's got a lot of corruption. I don't know what the hell. I mean, it's hard to say. Actually, my opinion on the corruption, I think the Northeast has got far more corruption than the South, except in the Northeast, it's legal corruption, We're allowed to be crooks because it's in the law. But what I'm looking at is, not even so much the state, but as the geography where I'm going to. When I looked at Tennessee, I said it's mountains. I want to be up in the Appalachians. It's not, that's what I'm looking at. And that's what I'm looking at if I go to North Georgia. I want to be up North Georgia, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains areas. In other words, it's almost like I'm not even looking at the state border so much, because I don't really see a problem between Tennessee, Georgia, or South Carolina. I mean, really don't really care. Each state's got a little bit of an advantage over the other, but they're pretty close. Florida's not that bad, though. It's not like, it's not like living up in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, or something, or Massachusetts. But it's getting, it's getting a little And so, I'm making a careful move on this deal. But when I looked at some of the statistics, it was very interesting how, how the Northeast judges, other states. I thought I saw some statistics where they showed Wyoming was the most corrupt state in the union. I mean, or the country. I don't want to use that word, the union. That's a dirty word, right? Hey, right? But, the deal is, I started thinking, I said, it all depends on how you people are looking at this stuff. But, I always look at it like, the corruption in New York and New Jersey is kind of like part of the system. So, it's not counted as corruption. And I do know the southern states got a lot of freaking problems, too. But I always look at it, the least government, the best. And when I saw this statistic on Georgia about, number one, on having, lack of stringent laws, and they're saying that's bad, I'm thinking, good. They don't have too many stringent laws. Like Maine does good, too. That's a northeastern state. Maine is pretty good, too. Maine is not bad. I mean, I'm surprised about New Hampshire being 17. I don't even know how they judge this thing. North Dakota, South Dakota is pretty good. South Dakota, Virginia, that surprised me. I don't know how accurate this thing is. Maybe it's not accurate. Wyoming, lack of stringent laws. I believe that. Here on this chart, they're showing Wyoming as very good. So it's very hard to tell which state is the most corrupt. I think there's corruption in every state, all over the place. The more laws you got, the more government you got, the worse it is. One reason I'm not necessarily looking at the state per se, but the mountains, where a developer can't go and say, hey, see what Florida had like a lot of mountains. Developers couldn't come down there too easy and just say, I'm going to buy up, 100 acres of land and subdivide it into these little 50, 60-foot lots and build, and it's real easy to make the roads. If you got a bunch of mountains, it ain't that easy to do that. It's easy to do that down here in Florida. That's another reason it's getting built up, because it's so damn flat. It's not just, the fact that it's down south and it's in warm and all this stuff. It's easy to develop. It's pretty easy to build on the freaking sand, too. I mean, it's not like you got to be digging in the rock, Everybody's got, block or frame construction. Usually it's blocks on a slab and you're not digging a basement. But Florida's got, not horrible, but hey, I don't like the writing on the wall, so I definitely am getting the hell out of here eventually. But I want to make a careful move. One thing I'm also looking at is states that are very friendly towards moonshiners. Not that I'm a moonshiner, but, I always look at it like this. I always look at it like, why the hell did they even make this stuff illegal? It's just like tax revenue. In other words, in Tennessee, they're pretty really lenient on moonshining, as long as, I think they allow you to do beer and wine, but not whiskey. You got to have just rules with the federal government with whiskey and stuff. But mainly that's because of taxes and stuff. Florida's got one good thing about it. Good though, they got pretty damn low taxes. They have no state income tax. They got a sales tax, but there's no sales tax on clothing and food, unless it's food in restaurants. But regular food, and it's 6 or 7%, which is usually a little lower than some places. Tennessee's got. And I don't know, Florida's pretty good with real estate taxes depending on where you are. If you're in the center of the state, up in the Hill Country where I am, real estate taxes are low. If you're on the coast, real estate taxes are very high. And a lot of other things are pretty damn high. But, the more Yankees moving down here, the more I'm like getting the hell out of this joint. One thing I do like, though, is a lot with the Confederate heritage and history. It's pretty obvious, though, that, today, it's not even about heritage. It's more like, I don't know, it's an ideological political battle, like it's the Marxists against the Americans. The Americans being the Confederates and the Marxists being the Yankees up north. That's one reason I got out of the north, because that's just, they are blatantly communist up there. But not necessarily in New Hampshire and Maine, and even Vermont isn't even that bad. And upstate New York isn't even that bad. It's all concentrated around the big cities. And they have the political power, and they shove their policies like, if you looked at, if upstate New York could secede from the rest of, the New York metropolitan area down there in the lower Hudson, it would be a totally different state. As a matter of fact, even in Massachusetts, a lot of, like if you go in central Massachusetts, way different from the Boston area. But, that's how it goes. And I guess, you got that problem even down there in Georgia, because, in Georgia, Atlanta is running roughshod over a lot of other stuff that's going on. The big city metropolitan areas got a lot of financial strength. And, they're calling the shots on a lot of stuff, and the people are resisting. But, I don't know if this map is very accurate. They're trying to show, like, which are the more southern states. And I don't really agree with this, to tell you the truth, but I partly agree with it. I have to say that, when you're looking at the really hardcore southern states, it'd be South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Florida, I don't think is Florida. North Carolina is getting a little bit less like a southern state, but again, if you're looking at the region, like if you're in North Carolina in the mountains, you're talking more like a southern state. It's good to go. Even Virginia in the mountains is fine. West Virginia, which is, Union State back in 1861 to 65, is more like a southern state mentality. And I could say Kentucky and Missouri and Arkansas should be a southern state on this map. I don't know why they left it off, but, it was kind of like somebody's opinion. But opinions are like, a dime a dozen. Florida, I think Florida's a southern state when you're talking about the northern third or half in central Florida, but I don't know. But one thing I like about Georgia is they at least had the, well, I know they didn't adopt this, I think, till 1956, this flag with the cross. But it's cool that they had it. And, when they adopted this flag, they were encouraged to use this, any symbols of the Confederacy in the upcoming centennial that was to start occur in 1961. As a matter of fact, there was a congressional committee formed in 1957 to encourage each and every southern state at the state level to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of the war between the states. From 1961 to 1965 would be the 100-year anniversaries, and they'd have all these different celebrations. So, before this was even going to happen, they were already doing committees. Like Congress actually formed an official committee in 1957, a year after this flag was adopted, but it was already being discussed for quite a while about what are we going to do for the 100-year centennial in the South of the war between the states. So that was why they adopted this flag. But today, the communist media up north wants to tell you it was the anti-civil rights. That's why they adopted this flag. And I am very, very, very attuned to the scams that go on up north. Big time. It's not just because I'm up from up north, but it's because I work with some of the most shrewd people going. I mean, I read the game, the financial games going on left and right. And, I can't tell you that Nathan Deal, the governor of Georgia, is like an upright, freaking perfect guy. No way. Probably not as bad as freaking Rick Scott of Florida. But, that's not the point. Because, you got Phil Murphy in New Jersey. And, it's like everywhere you go, they're all screwed up. But, that's the whole point is, it's like, they made it look like the North was all this virtuous, good stuff trying to do this and that. Get out of here. I'm getting tired of this crap because that's why I'm fighting it all the way. And that's not even a matter of heritage. I'm looking at it like, the underdog is getting picked on here left and right. And it's really what's going on. And, here we got Confederate monument, up in Georgia. on the wall, Stone Mountain. So, hope they keep this thing forever. They need to make one up in Tennessee, too. Maybe they will. Maybe I will up on, I don't know if I can make one at East Point. That would cost a lot of money. But I could do a lot more than I'm doing right now. I'm kind of holding back. I got some money, actually, but, it's like, the only reason I got money is because I'm a cheapskate. Some people get money, they'll lose it inside of a year. Actually, I got some money. I could do a lot of stuff. And I can, but I personally want to get it so the public freaking gets on the side of, like, righteousness once in a while and sees two sides to every point, This video is not exactly about me moving the hell out of Florida, but it's sort of like, my ideological method of thinking. It's like I want to stay the hell away from areas in this country that are starting to get more and more screwed up. And I want to stay in the bright spots of this country. And, I'm not going to try to fight a bunch of yo-yos that just don't think like me. I want to get in with people that think more like me. Now, I'm not saying that I'm really ultra-religious or anything like that. I could say, I believe in God. I believe in some kind of, spiritual force. And, there's some kind of creator. There's some kind of laws in the universe that are just dictated throughout whatever it is. But I'm not really, like, religious, Kind of like, people do whatever the hell they want. I'm not, whatever. I'm not that freaking strict on a lot of stuff. But, hey, you long as you're not doing harm to anybody else, I don't really care too much, I mean, I might disagree with, purple mohawks and crazy stuff and these wild parades they got, but, that's your own thing. Do whatever you want. I'm not going to do that. But, I look at it like this. To me, the South is really still the core of America. Man, hopefully Florida doesn't fall. But, before it does, I'm getting the hell out of here. And I'm thinking, it's not really like, if I moved to Georgia and I was in Atlanta, that wouldn't be the place to be, man. But, if I was up in the north, near the border of, say, I was also thinking about going possibly to North Georgia, near the border of both Tennessee and North Carolina, because there could be a tax advantage, Hey, maybe they got a sales tax holiday in North Carolina one day. Maybe they got one in Tennessee one day. Maybe one day they got one in Georgia. I just go right across the border and buy something that way. That might be good. But, here's the Dixie States. And, I got absolutely no... I really don't mind Maine and New Hampshire up north, but except you freeze your butt off. But to tell you the truth, as far as the spirit of freedom up there, they're not too bad. They're not really like Yankee states in a bad way. They're Yankee just being north, you know what I mean? And actually upstate New York is not screwed up. Actually, a lot of places there's even places in New Jersey that aren't screwed up. You go to northwest New Jersey, or go to Pine Barrens, or you go to southern New Jersey. It's always around the metropolitan areas. And actually, the metropolitan areas, even in the south, got this, communist leanings going on. And it's like, I'm more interested in not just moving to another state, but moving into an area that I hopefully is not going to get screwed up. I kind of, in Florida, it's like you got no freaking options, because no matter where you go, it's like they're packing in this state left and right. If this state had some 1,500-foot mountain someplace in the middle, the developers wouldn't be able to come down here. They'd be building all along the coast, and I could go up in a mountain someplace and be good. That's why I was thinking about going up in the mountains. Now, the other thing I was thinking, too, this may or may not happen, but I almost think that it might. The Edgar Cayce predictions, the geological changes that are occurring with the solar cycles and the magnetic fields on the Earth changing, every so many hundreds of years or even thousands of years. There's been predictions that, a lot of the coastal areas of, I don't know if it's going to be this bad, but, they're talking about the San Madrid fault going off again. Florida, I don't know. Maybe where I'm at might be okay because I'm up in a hill country, but I wouldn't want to be in South Florida. But, if you really want to be safe and secure against some kind of cataclysmic freaking crazy problem that might happen that's out of the blue, that doesn't happen, because, even in South Carolina, I remember it was a couple years ago, they had, when you went down to I-95, I-95 was even closed down for a few days because they had the floods of 1,000 years. Now, even California had the drought of 1,000 years. It only lasted for a couple of years or something, and then it went away, and all the rain came back. But there's signs that there's some weird shit going on, and if you look at some of the information about the mini ice age and the cycles and all this other kind of crap, usually that's corresponding with a lot of volcanoes, earthquakes, and all kinds of crap. And this is a little bit too extreme that I don't think this is going to happen, but I don't think Florida is a very good state to stay in for cataclysmic problems or World War III. Which I don't know if that's going to happen, but it might. It might because of a lot of the economic conditions going on. And one thing I want to do is not necessarily be, it has to be Georgia or it has to be South Carolina or it has to be Tennessee. It really has to be up in the more remote areas of the mountains, but not so crazy remote that I can't get to someplace, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm kind of looking at. So, but I do want to stay in an area that is more Confederate. I have picked up from a long time ago that most people in the South think like I do. And I think like the way I do is because, my lineage is really Southern, going up from South Carolina, going all the way back. Even though I was born in New Jersey, northeast New Jersey, near New York, I've never really liked a lot of stuff going on up there. Never have. I always kind of liked the woods and getting out away from the garbage. And the only thing I respected about that area was, the competitive, strong industry that makes America great. That was the only thing I really liked about it. But as far as the crazy rules and excess government regulations, I never liked that part. Nah, not at all. Yeah, I'm not saying that, everything in the South is perfect, but generally speaking, when I looked at this chart in Georgia, that was pretty amazing. This was some, I don't know what this chart came from. It was some, it was kind of like a little more of one of the liberal type magazines or something, or publications. And they're kind of rating Georgia as really bad, like the worst for having not enough, they had a lack of stringent laws, and they were like the worst state. And I was thinking, that's good in my book. I'd put this as a number one the other way. And New Jersey was on the absolute extreme, and that was a big hint that New Jersey and Georgia are completely opposite from each other. And I was thinking, that's good. That's good. Because one place I'd like to go to is the exact opposite of New Jersey. Florida's not that bad. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not, I don't know. More people, like I said, I've been saying, the more people moving down here, the more I'm like, but, it's not like I'm up in Illinois, California. California, I don't know. If I was in California, I'd probably go to Arizona instead of freaking south because it's closer. But, California you could probably hide. You got a big state over there. But as far as Florida, I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, I'm thinking about the mountains. It's not so important at what particular state. I do have almost 10 acres of property up in the mountains in Tennessee already. But, I was thinking about getting something that's already built. This way, if it's already built, it's got a well, it's got a septic tank, it's got, other buildings on there, it's got the driveway installed, the electric's already installed, it's got the appliances in it. I don't have to do nothing, I just moved there, right? That's one thing I was looking at, too. A lot simpler, man. But, I can, I got to watch the tax implications of moving money around. That's one thing I got to watch for. But I do have the cash to just buy a place flat out, or just buy the damn place cash. I could do that. So that's what I'll do. But, it may be something, it might even be one of those mobile manufactured homes. But if I got one of those things, what I'd do is I'd put the log siding on it. And, coat the, make sure to really, it's like rot-proof, termite-proof, cedar siding and all that garbage, so it'll look like one of these jobbers. And, you know, maybe I'll do that. I don't know. We'll put a steel roof on it, so it'll be like really solid, even though it's one of those, because that's a cheap way to go. You know, they're not bad, you know, today. They're not too bad to do those things. And I notice a lot of them up there are pretty cheap, so. But if you buy like a real log cabin, man, they go through, they get expensive. They get expensive. I don't really know what the hell you get for the money. So, you know. But I might get that log look, so that's something else I'm looking at too. But, you know, I don't think nothing catastrophic is going to happen right away. And there's going to be plenty of freaking hints when something bad is going to happen. You ain't talking about like, you know, I don't know, they're going to do all these crazy laws or World War III and all this garbage, right? You know, I'm going to tell you, there's always a good warning before this stuff happens. You know how you know? It's nothing really bad. You know, if the economy's not really great right now, but it's not really bad. When the economy goes really, really bad and you got really high commodity prices, high food prices, high gasoline prices, and people don't have that much net disposable income, and, you know, the tensions are going up there because people don't have any money, well, that's when bad things can happen in the world, you know. You know, if you look at, you know, what happened before World War II, there was a global economic depression going on. It's like, that's what I'm figuring is going to happen before we get into, you know, World War III or some garbage. We're going to have a warning. Yeah, that's why I don't think this stuff is going to happen for some years. You know? I don't think it's going to happen right away. So I'm not in a big damn rush. But then on the other side of it is, you know, once I got all my ducks in line, it ain't going to be that long to freaking go. Man, hey, boom, I'm gone. And, you know, I want to get up there in the areas, you know, one place, you know, one thing I looked at with Florida I didn't like, and not that I'm a moonshiner, but it shows you their lack of, you know, freedom thinking, you know, is that, you know, see Florida, 34 on, you know, they're saying that's good for stringent laws. I'm like, that's not good, you know, but they don't have, they're bad, they're really hard on moonshiners, you know, really hard on moonshining and stuff down here. Tennessee, Georgia, nah, not so much, not too bad, not too bad. A little more friendly. So, anyway, this is some plans I've got, and, you know, like I said, I ain't no damn hurry. But I will keep that property up in Tennessee. You know, I might be having a dual domicile. And, you know, it could be that I wind up in South Tennessee near Georgia. Because what I'm thinking is, it's a lot less, you know, it's another 3.5 hours to go through the whole state of Tennessee to get up where my other property is. I'm thinking, Jesus, man, that's more crap. That's not much more you got to drive. And when you're talking that, you're talking 7-8 hours round trip, right? Extra. And, you know, then you got to build and all this crap. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll develop that 9-10 acres later after I get, you know, because I think it's simpler just to buy something outright, you know. But then, you know, I'm flexible. Whatever the best deal comes up at the time, and I got my stuff transferred over without tax implications, I'll pull the trigger on it and go ahead and get it. And, you know, get the hell out of here. But not until such time. Not until such time. I kind of look at it like, you know, and, you know, to tell you the truth, I'm going to be one of the biggest thorns in the side to the Northeast establishment than anybody out there from the South, probably, because I'm very much attuned to how these people think up there. It's like, I'm not even mad at them. I mean, I respect their shrewdness, but it's like, you know, they're so full of it, man. It's like, you know, they talk about race relations up in New York City. You ever look at a demographics map in New York City? Man, that place is like, you got the white section, the Hispanic section, the Asian section, the black section. It's like all over the, you know, it's like that in the city. You know, it's like, you know, hey, we're a big melting pot. No, you're not. What, are you kidding me? You know? It's like, and you're the guys that came down south to freaking try to fix everything? Get out of here. You get out of here. You're full of it. You know, I'm wise to this stuff. I'm wise to them. Um, it's like they can't even make up a good BS story, for crying out loud. I don't know. And I don't know how many people are buying into it, but you know, I think the problem is too many people are afraid to say the truth. You know, that's really what it is. I mean, you don't have to get argumentative about it. You don't need to get nasty about it, but, and I don't. I mean, I'm just telling you, you know, they're full of it up there, up north. You know, I'm not saying that the South is freaking flawless. Stuff going on South that's not right, you know. Same with everything else, but, you know, it's like, you know, who's throwing the stones at who? You know? Who's accusing who of what? You guys are throwing the stones and doing way more than the ones that you're throwing the stones at. You know, I'm talking about you guys up north, right? So it's a big scam. And, you know, the one thing, like, this is why I'm not even like, you know, I don't think, you know, I don't think something like this is going to happen. You know, this was like one of those U.S. Navy map of future America. I don't think this crap is going to happen, but, you know, it could happen a little bit. It could be like South Florida, a little bit of the coast of the United States. Could be problems. Could be problems. We got some major geological changes coming up with the mini ice age and volcanic activity, the changes in the power of the sun. You know, it changes not just how much energy is coming to the earth and how much heat, but also changes the volcanic and earthquake activity, which could affect a lot of different things. You know, I look at sometimes, you know, this guy Edgar Casey that predicted this stuff way back when. You know, he could just, you know, it just could be that it's going to happen a little later than people kept thinking it was going to happen. They kept thinking all this junk was going to happen back in the year 2000. You know, how do you know? Maybe it's going to happen in the year 2025 or 2027 or something. I don't know, 2024. How do I know? I won't be in Florida by then. I can tell you that right now. No way. But, you know, I want to make sure when I make a move, you know, wherever I'm going to be at, I'm going to probably be there for the next 20-something years. So, it's not something you just go, hey, let's just... It's not like buying a, you know, a shirt. You know, I bought a shirt, I don't like it, I'll get another one. You know, when you're moving, you got to freaking make sure you're doing the right thing. And it's not like I'm in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Illinois, or even California. You know, I'm in Florida. It's not that bad, especially in north central Florida, in the hill country. But, I don't know. I see the writing on the wall, and I'll be glad to get the hell out of here eventually. And like I said, I'm particularly choosing, not necessarily because it's Georgia or Tennessee or South Carolina. What I'm looking at is that Appalachian corridor. An area that is rougher country, where there's going to be less likelihood of big developers moving in there. Because even the area of East Tennessee that borders North Carolina, where they subdivided into 1-acre lots, even that isn't even as bad as what's going down in Florida. Or they subdivided into 1-acre or 2-acre lots. It's not as bad. Because there's still a lot more undeveloped land between where the residential areas are, because it's just too rugged. Plus, when you're on different elevations, it's not like you could see your neighbor that easy. You know, it's like, you know, they're hidden behind hills and all this other garbage. So, you know, but land over in in northeast Tennessee does have southern exposure, southern and also western exposure, and there's a little stream right on the border. It separates the other lot from my lot, which is, you know, one lot is like over a dozen acres, and my lot is almost 10 acres. So, even if somebody moved next to me, it's not like it'd be too close. So that's pretty good. Anyway, over now, and you know, stay free. That's all I'm gonna say.